What up, everybody? I'm former quarterback Malik Rosier, and if football, sports interviews, and having a good time interests you, then make sure to click the like and subscribe button as it really does help support this channel, and it also makes sure that you guys never miss a new video. How's everyone doing? And welcome back to another episode of the Malik Rosier Show. And to get us started today, the first thing we're going to talk about is the most hyped team in the 2023 season. And to me, it's been Texas. I think they have a lot of the right pieces. I really like their head coach. I like Quinn Ewers, even like some of the younger quarterbacks that they have, and Malik Murphy and even Arch Manning. So I think that this Texas team has a lot of the pieces. Week 2 is going to be a really, really big week for them as, they play Alabama. And then going into like week 6 or week 7, maybe a little later, they had the Red River Showdown with, Oklahoma. That's going to be another big one, as I really like what Oklahoma has with Dylan Gabriel. So Texas definitely has all the right pieces to make, this year work and, push for a national title and be inside the playoffs. But a lot of it's going to come down to, those first really, like, especially that second game. If they get blown out or lose to Alabama, then you know that there's probably a chance they're going to get taken out of, the national contender title. So to me, I think Texas definitely has the right pieces from quarterback to, skill players on defense to receivers to running back. I know that they lost Bijan Robinson, but they have a lot of young guys behind them that are good. So, I expect Texas to be the old Texas. I expect Texas, to run their conference, which is the Big 12. There is some other teams that I think are good, like Oklahoma, Texas Tech, but for the most part, I think that Texas has the most hype going into 2023, and I think that also they deserve a lot of hype. Another team that has some hype, Florida State. I'm not the biggest fan of them, obviously, Miami alumni, but Florida State does a really good job in recruiting in the portal. They've done a great job in last year with the recruiting, high school kids. So I would just say, as long as they keep developing, especially Jordan Travis and the connection between Johnny Wilson, now you're adding Keon Coleman. Florida State can definitely be a dark horse, and they are a really, really hype team, especially in the ACC conference. We're going to go over my top 5 freshmen in the year 2023. Number 1, Caleb's Downs, safety, University of Alabama. This guy's big. He's physical. He flies around. I think that he will probably be a freshman All-American. I have really, really high hopes for this kid. I think that he's going to be a freak of nature, and he's going to be a stud in the SEC. Next, Zachariah Branch, USC receiver, number 1 receiver coming out. He's going to have Caleb Williams. He's going to have, Lincoln Riley. He's going to have Cliff Kingsbury. So he's going to have a lot of guys that are really smart and really talented around him. And I think that, I don't know how much he'll start, especially in the beginning, but I think that, by week 5, 6, he'll be someone that it comes alive and makes a lot of plays for Caleb Williams. Number 3, Kamari McLean should have been at the University of Miami, but, Deion does a good job in recruiting. So he's at the University of Colorado. Obviously, we know how Deion is with his defensive back. So I think this guy's going to be fundamental. He's obviously 6'6'1", so he has the size. He's quick. He's agile. He had every offer. So, there's not a reason why, he shouldn't be on the other side of Travis Hunter. And I think that with Travis Hunter, obviously everyone knows who he is. With Travis Hunter being on the other side of Kamani McLean, I think there's going to be a lot of targets going at him. So he has a lot to prove this year. He's going to be playing against some really good talent. And I'm very interested, not really on his cover skills, more on his tackling skills. I think that a lot of people are going to test him to see, can he tackle guys that are 22, 23, 24 years old at the age of 18? And he could be even 17. So I think it's going to be very interesting. But I think from an athletic standpoint, the ability to play and having a lot of eyes on him, I think Kamani McLean is definitely going to be one of the top 5 freshmen. Next, Nico Harbor, tight end, South Carolina. This guy's a freak. I expect him to be, if not a day 1 starter, at least by week 3, playing a lot and potentially starting. I think they got to get this guy on the field. I think, the combination between him and Spencer Rattler, who's a really good quarterback for South Carolina, there could be a lot of connections. The biggest thing for him is learning the playbook, but, from physical ability, speed, catching, I don't think he'll have any of the issues of, slowly translating into the SEC, especially because, to me, I think the only really tough team they're going to play this year is going to be Georgia. They're going to have the Vanderbilts, they're going to have the Missouri. So they'll have some easy games. I don't say easy games, but some easier games. Obviously the SEC West is a lot harder, but for now, I think he's in a really good system with a good quarterback, and he has a team that, is I don't want to say relying on him, but he has a spot to fill, and if he can fill it, he's going to be a great addition to the South Carolina Gamecocks. Last, Justin Haynes, running back, Alabama. This guy is a freak. He's huge. I think Saban's going to go back, to back that running style. So I think with this guy, obviously the way he looks, the way he runs, he looked really good in the spring game. I think he's going to get a lot of playing time. And obviously Tommy Rees, we know what Notre Dame likes to do. They like the downhill running style. So I think that this really complements having a guy like Justin Haynes, who's a freshman that looks like a phenom that, when you have an OC and a head coach that both believe the run is first, then you're going to have guys like this definitely integrate early into an offense. Next, we're going to go over my top 5 offensive coordinators, and these are new OCs that are transitioning from one college to the next. So number 1, Garrett Riley, going to Clemson. For the people that don't know, this is Lincoln Riley's younger brother. So obviously, he's probably picking Lincoln's brain. He's probably even picking Cliff Kingsbury's brain. He has a really good quarterback with, Kate Klubnik. Obviously, they have a system with Dabo Swinney, and a lot of these coaches are based on, personnel that they have, or either whether I think these guys are just phenomenal OCs. So Garrett Riley, combination between really good OC, but also the players he's going to have around him, the coaches he's going to have. I think he's in a spot where as long as he just keeps, doing what he's doing, being highly productive, staying efficient, he'll have a really, really good career at the University of Clemson. Next, Phil Longo, seen too much of him, 4 years, UNC. The guy can run the ball. The guy can throw the ball. When you're talking about Wisconsin, you're giving him Braylon Allen. I'm pretty sure they just had a transfer come in. So, they have an older quarterback. I'm pretty sure it was a guy from SMU, if I'm not mistaken. So I know they have a grad transfer quarterback, and he didn't play too well in the spring game when I watched him, but he is someone that, has experience. He usually, for the most part, does play pretty good. So I think Phil Longo is going to get him right. One thing I can say is that Phil Longo definitely knows how to develop a quarterback. I mean, you guys saw what he did with Drake May. You guys saw what he did with Sam Howell. So to me, Phil Longo is a really good coach just because Wisconsin is going to get offensive linemen. They're going to get run game, and you add a guy that understands the spread and knows how to develop quarterbacks at a very high level, you're going to have success in that division. So because of Phil Longo and even Luke Fickell, their head coach. So they've done a revamp, and I have a lot of high hopes for Wisconsin and especially Phil Longo on the offense. Next, bias, Shannon Dawson, University of Miami. I think when you give him Tyler Van Dyke, you're talking about adding in these new young pieces. Mario and the gang did a great job in the recruiting pool. We just added Tyler Harrell from Alabama, and even you guys go back and watch him at West Virginia. His best player was Tavon Austin, and he did a great job of utilizing him. Obviously, had a really good quarterback with Geno. I think Geno's obviously a little more athletic than Tyler Van Dyke, but you're talking about 2 really good quarterbacks. He's going to have really good receivers. We have Xavier Restrepo. We have Kobe Young. Obviously some of you guys don't know who all these names are, but for the most part, I would say that Dawson's in a really good spot, especially talking about revamping the offensive line. I mean, we're adding Matt Lee, we had Javon Cohen. So I like Dawson. I would say about 70% is because of who he is as a person and his scheme and everything. And I would say 30% of the offense that he has around him, because you can be a great OC and not have the Jimmies and Joes, and your X and O's don't matter no more. All the routes you drew, all the great whatever. If you don't have the guys that can run the right route or create separation, it doesn't matter. And I think that's one thing that Dawson is helping Miami learn is they have athletes, but his job is to coach them up so they can create separation and make his plays work. Number 4, Will Stein, Oregon, came from UTSA. Like this guy, I'm pretty sure they were top 15 in like run game and pass game. Obviously you have Dan Lanning, you're going to have Bo Nix. I think that it'll be a really easy transition from UTSA over to Oregon. I know many people probably didn't watch UTSA. I know I didn't really watch them that much. When I go back and watch them, they did have a very effective offense, and I think that'll transition over to the Pac-12. I would say the only team that really, really stands out to me is maybe USC and Utah. And so if they can get past those two, I think they'll be fine. And I got a lot of faith in Will Stein. I think he'll do a good job at Oregon with Dan Lanning. The last one, Tommy Rees, University of Alabama. Okay, so I will say I do like his style. I think that he has a similar style to what I would do, which is, a little more downhill run. I don't know if I'd be under center I formation, but spread, run game, add him some RPOs, quick game screens, things like that, getting the ball in and out my quarterback's hand. But my biggest problem with Tommy Rees, and correct me if I'm wrong, go back and show me one that he's developed. I just don't see him really developing quarterbacks. I see him as a smart OC that understands X's and O's. But, I mean, you go back at Notre Dame, and I don't really know one quarterback that was like a 4-star or 5-star that went to or not my bad. I don't really know any 4 or 5 stars that went to Notre Dame and just astronomically became better because of the offensive coordinator. You know what I mean? So I like a lot of Tommy Rees's skills, but to me, I think that with the quarterback struggles that Alabama's having slightly, and you have a guy that to me hasn't proven himself to develop an elite quarterback yet. and you have a guy that hasn't proven himself to develop an elite quarterback yet. To me, I think that's why Tommy Rees for me is number 5. A lot of the talent around him to me will help his offense flourish, like Justin Haynes, some of the receivers like Jermaine Burton, things like that. But also, at the end of the day, but also at the end of the day, the quarterback does run the offense. And, Tommy Rees to me has to do a good job of developing these guys, because Nick is doing a great job. And even the other staffs before him are bringing in highly, highly talented quarterbacks. Now it's your job to develop them. I don't think, X's and O's, calling plays, schematics is ever going to be Tommy Rees's, knock. I think he's really good at that. Obviously I've seen a lot of the plays that he calls, but to me, it's about getting that 4 or 5 star guy that's really, really good, that has a lot of talent, and slowly finding, hey, what are the 2 to 3 things that I can really help you with to elevate your game? And that's something that I think if Tommy Rees can figure out, then, he should probably be number 1 based on the talent, the combination between, run game that Saban has and, his mindset in the run game at Notre Dame. And now obviously he's bringing it over to Alabama. We would take a quick break to thank our sponsors, DGen Sports. DGen Sports is an exciting NFT project that combines real-world sports and NFT culture. Behind an experienced leadership team, the project just launched their 3rd season and offers free-to-play sports prediction prizes every month. They gave away a $250 NFT for the Masters alone. Follow them on Twitter at DGenSportsIO. So we're going to go over my top 10 college quarterbacks that played between 2000 all the way until now. Obviously, this is my list, and I'll kind of explain why I have some guys where. Number 1, Vince Young. I think, and obviously Vince Young tore it up at Texas, but you're talking about the way that throwing has changed since he's played. You're talking about the way that offense has changed, RPOs, things like that. I think if Vince Young was in the 2020 offenses, I think he would have absolutely dominated, like legitimately blew through records. Especially you put him on like a Georgia, an Alabama, an Ohio State, a Clemson, a team that has a lot of just highly competitive, highly talented people around him. And yes, Texas was that team, but I think that Vince was a little bit, behind his years. And I think that if he plays now, I think he's a more athletic version of Cam Newton, which is why I have Cam Newton at number 2. You watch Cam Newton we did versus Alabama. This guy was stiff arming, running over linebackers, throwing defensive linemen across his body. Like, this guy was an absolute monster when he was at Auburn. And so, I got to put Cam Newton number 2. Number 3, Joe Burrow. To me, I think out of this entire list, to me, he's the best passer, point blank, period. Like, you watch this guy throw most beautiful ball coming out of his hands, super accurate. Yes, he had, some all-pro receivers around him, but you go back and look at this list, most of these guys did too. Baker Mayfield, love the way he played. I would say that, I wish I could see him more in SEC games. We got to see him versus Georgia, which I think that game really opened my eyes. When it was Oklahoma versus Georgia, and it was a high-scoring game. So I love Baker Mayfield, number 4. Maybe you can throw him a little higher, but to me, I think Baker Mayfield fits at number 4. Number 5, Johnny Football. Got to put him in there, man. If you guys ain't watched Texas A&M when he was there, you guys ain't watched football. This guy was crazy. He was making acrobatic throws. Yes, he was throwing the ball up to Mike Evans and people like that. But, you guys go back and watch. He's breaking 2 or 3 tackles in the pocket, shaking guys, running downfield, throwing across his body. Like, he was doing like Patrick Mahomes stuff before Patrick Mahomes was. So I got to put Johnny Manziel inside my top 5, man. Johnny Football, like, he literally has the last name. Well, not last name, but nickname Football. You know what I mean? So has to be in there. Number 6, Tim Tebow. Love this guy. Wish he was a better thrower, but I think from a leader, a winner, a competitor, someone that nationally captured eyes, I think Tim Tebow has to be inside the top 10. Number 7, Deshaun Watson. This guy was an absolute freak at Clemson. You guys go back and watch him play. He absolutely took over games, whether it was running, whether it was throwing, whether it was leading. Like 2020, or really to me, Deshaun Watson between the years of like 2014 to like 2018, 2017 was like probably the best quarterback to play in that era. So I got to put Deshaun Watson in my top 10. Number 8, Kyler Murray. This guy was freakish at Oklahoma. You guys watch him. He literally, you could put up one game and it would be basically a whole season highlight for some other quarterbacks between run and pass. So Kyler Murray Kyler Murray was just phenomenal at Oklahoma, and I think that he deserves to be inside the top 10. Number 9, Lamar Jackson. You guys go back and watch his highlights. You can go back and watch his NFL highlights. He was doing the same thing in college as it was in the NFL. So I would say that Lamar is someone to me that I think, and when he got to the NFL, he definitely grew as a passer, but you guys go back and watch some of his throws, especially a lot of his runs. He's shaking 2 or 3 guys in like one move. So Lamar Jackson is definitely inside my top 10. Last one, this one be a little biased to me. This one's personal. I would say that when college football was out, NCAA the football game, Oregon was the only team I played with, and it was because of this guy, Marcus Mariota. This guy could run. He was a freak. This is who, I wanted to model a lot of my game after. Like at the time, if I could be any quarterback, it was going to be Marcus Mariota. Really loved him. Loved the Oregon offense. I think that, he was electric whenever he played. He absolutely took over games, and you knew the only way to beat Oregon was to stop him. Next, we're going to go into the ACC. So the ACC is a very interesting conference right now, and as you see at the bottom, it says the ACC is adding the Success Initiative. The ACC is adding the Success Incentive Initiative. And so, long story short, what they're saying is, hey, if you win, we'll give you more money. And yeah, that works, but like, how is it going to be split? So you see my point number two. Like, how is it going to be split? Is basketball and football going to be different, and how do you add baseball, because revenues are different? So like March Madness is totally different than your Saturday football games and the revenue that they bring in. So that to me is going to be very, very interesting to see how they get split across, especially talking about a Duke team that might be a little better at basketball than football. Obviously, I think they're doing a better job of coming around in football, but it's like, how does that split get separated when you're talking about, to me, unless your team makes March Madness, most of the money from the schools is actually generated through the football program. So to me, I'm super interested. And I'm sorry, I'm skipping around a little bit. We'll go back to point number one. To me, they just need better TV contracts. I think that we did a terrible job negotiating it. I feel like we were just happy with the contract that we got. You look at the SEC, and you even look at the Big Ten's contract, and the Big Ten has the best out of all of us, and they're literally just north of us. And so is SEC. They're literally vertically north of us. How is their contract so much more massively different than ours? Whether it's the money size, okay, they have more money, and the long-term contract. We're in the longest-term contract out of all conferences, and so to me, it just doesn't make sense. I know the ACC is trying to do some ways to fix it so that they can keep the Florida States, the Clemson, the UNCs, and the Miamis. But to me, I think the best thing to do is for them to go out there and try to find a new TV deal, whether it's a sling, whether it's something like that. I know that could be a little harder than said, but I also think that with the amount of controversy that's kind of going on between people leaving conferences, and you're talking about potentially some of us leaving the ACC and going to the Big Ten or even the SEC, as you see that the SEC West is just adding. So I bet you the SEC East is probably trying to add one or two teams as well. I think that the ACC needs to do something a little better than this. Show me how. Okay, I win. Show me how I'm going to get paid more. Show me which sports I'm going to get paid more. So that's some stuff that I would really want to know. And then saying, hey, if let's say I have a bad year, like, how does that financially affect me year to year? Because you're talking about, if I transfer the SEC, I'm going to get more money anyways, whether I'm winning or losing. And that definitely helps your program. And obviously saying I don't accept losing, but also don't think that it's necessarily right for, a team like Clemson to necessarily get paid this astronomical more money than a team like Louisville or a Wake Forest or something like that. To me, I think that the conference just needs to do a better job. And obviously, yes, you should get, paid by success. I think that, winners should get paid. But also believe that, if we all have an agreement that, hey, we're in this conference together, this is what we're doing. Yes, the winners should get most of the spoils. But at the end of the day, I don't want to lose hundreds of thousands or even potentially millions of dollars just because, the ACC is very, very bad at negotiating TV contracts. So now we're going to flip over to the NFL, get off a little bit of college. And the two things I want to talk about, one, Lamar Jackson. So love Lamar. Glad I got the contract. I think now the biggest thing with Lamar, with, the OTAs and everything going on, is Lamar has to win not only the regular season, but has to win playoff games. You had this, I don't want to say dramatic scene, but obviously a little bit dramatic. And I understand, man. And go get your bread, do what you got to do. Like I 100% respect the way that you hustle, the way that you grinded, the way that you did it all on your own, man. I would personally say, I don't know if I can do that by myself. So 100% respect to you. But with that, what I always say, great power comes great responsibility, and call it. And well, really, what they say, great power comes great responsibility. Well, in the NFL, great money becomes great responsibility. So he's getting paid the bag. So now his job is to go in and win games for the Baltimore Ravens. And so not only regular season games, playoff games, potentially, Super Bowl champions. And that's kind of where, I think that they're going. Obviously, with them adding Tom Monken, 3 years in college, 2 years national championship. Yes, he was on Georgia, who was really, really good, but he still had to beat some good teams. So I think, the combination of Lamar, the super competitor that he is, and then you add Monken, the super winner that he is, his ability, to add on 2 natties, to play under a lot of pressure, to play. And I can't lie to you guys, playing for Kirby Smart is not the easiest thing to do. So he had to play constantly under pressure. So when you add 2 elite winners together and 2 highly competitive people together, you're going to have a successful program. So I'm super happy for Baltimore. Salute to Monken. I know he's going to do great things. That offense is going to be clicking, and I'm super excited to see, how, Lamar transitions under, Todd Monken's offense. Last, Patty Mahomes. Love Patty. And I love really, a lot of stuff that he's talking about, hey, I'm here to leave a legacy. I don't really care about making the bag right now. And yes, he's paid and he's an owner and different things. So I don't think that, financial security is really his problem. I think he wants to live a legacy, and I've always said, look at Tom Brady. Tom Brady made millions while he played. He's about to make millions on millions, hundreds of millions, probably even more than that, doing TV, doing commercials, creating my own business. And, he had to build that legacy, build that name, win all those national championships, because brand awareness, especially when you're playing in Super Bowls and massive playoffs, people start knowing who your name is, especially as a quarterback. I think Patrick Mahomes understands that. I don't think he wants to be the highest paid player. Yes, there is that selfish where, hey, I don't want to be, the 15th paid quarterback. I still want to be inside like the top 10. But, I'm giving you guys a buffer of 7,000, or I'm giving you guys a buffer of $7 million. Go spend that wisely. Go get me some receivers. Go get me some offensive linemen. Go get me some, defense line. We saw this a lot, with Tom Brady and what he did with a lot of his contracts, which is why I feel like he wound up leaving the Patriots. And I mean, we even saw this with Deshaun Watson go down on his contract. So, the Cleveland Browns can start building out some stuff. So I love this from Patrick Mahomes. I love the fact that he wants to build a legacy, that he wants to build something that, he's winning 4, 5, 6 national championships and not, just making millions on millions of dollars. And then he looks back and says, man, I never won anything. I never, accomplished all my goals and my dreams. And yes, he's won a natty, but, this guy to me is like Tom Brady, where he wants to win as many as he possibly can while he can. And so salute to Patrick, man. I know a lot of people would be greedy in your situation, and especially in the NFL, when the NFL stands for never for long. So I love what they're building at Kansas City. And I think that, if they can add some more pieces, especially in this offseason, I think that Kansas City can make it back for another national championship run. All right, and before we close, guys, just remember that we are doing 2 giveaways. So the first one is for $50. All you got to do is either on this video, on one of my Twitter posts, or even on my last YouTube video, just drop a $sign and give me a comment back on which one you like. Or what we have right here, guys, if you guys can see, I know it's a little hard with the green screen. It's a Miami hat. You guys can see the signatures all over it. We got this sign last year at a golf tournament. It was a really, really good event. There's a lot of good signatures on here that I think, if you're a Miami fan, you'd really like. All I want you to do is give a comment, on this video or the last one that you liked, and even give me like the little U, or maybe you put like a capitalized, just big U inside your comment, so I can kind of tally up, whether you want the $50 prize claim or whether you guys actually want the hat. I'll let you guys kind of pick on which one, you guys think is more value. And I will say that, I don't know if you guys saw, but on my Twitter, I posted more merchandise. We have jerseys, we have other hats, we have mini footballs. We have a lot of stuff that I'm going to slowly trying to give away. I want to be as, connected in my community and show you guys that, hey, if you guys support me by following, then I'll give you guys, cash, giveaways, different things like that, just because, I really do appreciate the support of my new endeavor with this YouTube and podcasting. So thank you guys, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.